So let's go ahead and talk about this other really important area that we've got to look at in order to balance your hormones. And that one is stress. Okay. So everybody's got it. All right. So the goal here is to really be able to learn to protect ourselves from the damaging effects of stress. And stress, actually, most people will think of it as being like the relational stress, the emotional stress. But toxins, those biotoxins and environmental toxins, those are a stressor on the body, okay? So remember, the body does not know the difference between a bear running after you when you're in real danger, when there's real stress going on where you've got to fight or you've got to run away. Your body doesn't know the difference between that and the relationship, that and the toxins in your body, the parasites, the mold, heavy metals, deficiencies. It's a stressor on the body to not have enough nutrients that it needs or not able to get enough sleep, where that's a time for you to really repair, for your body to really do its healing. The body doesn't know the difference between that. So we're in this constant state of stress. So you already knew, okay, I've got things going on with work, or I've got this relationship that's stressing me out, or something going on with my kids. But all those other things that we talked about as well, those are stressors to the body. So how does this play into your hormones? Well, first off, cortisol is that stress hormone, okay? So cortisol, adrenaline, those are going to come out when you're stressed, okay? Because they've got to, all right, we've got things to do, okay? We're in a stressful situation, fight or flight, remember? When you're not in that stress situation, it's called your parasympathetic activity, okay? So you've got your sympathetic and your parasympathetic activity. And parasympathetic is that rest, digest, and then there's another word that they use, but I can't think of what it is. And I haven't heard it in a long time, but it basically means like procreation, okay? So rest, digest, and make a baby, like all of those types of things happen when your body's in this other nervous system. Okay, so you're either functioning in your sympathetic or your parasympathetic at any given time, okay? And you can't be in both at the same time. So when you think about that, if your body feels like it's under stress, it's not going to rest, just in general, like allow you to be able to go to sleep. It's not going to digest your food properly. So that's going to be really important for you, that nutrient absorption that's needed for your hormones, for your muscles, for all the building blocks that need all the different pathways in your brain that need nutrients. Digestion's going to be off. And then when it comes to your reproductive system, okay? So if your bear was running after you, your body would not say, now's a great time to have a baby. No, that would not be going on at all. Really, those types of areas get neglected. Even your blood flow goes away from these areas and into your arms, into your legs, because so in case you need to run away, that's where all the blood flow's even leaving and going out to. There's something called a pregnenolone still. And basically, your body is going to produce cortisol. But those same pathways end up going down and producing testosterone and DHEA, as well as, and DHEA is a precursor. So I won't go too much into all of that. It's really just in your lab work. But testosterone, and then you have pregnenolone, which turns into progesterone. So remember, progesterone is that feel-good hormone. It's relaxing. It's anti-anxiety. It's like the chill pill hormone, okay? Also, the neurotransmitter that works in tandem with progesterone is GABA, okay? So that one is also very calming, okay? So what happens is your body will literally shunt everything that it was going to send you for progesterone and testosterone. It's going to shunt it. It's literally going to send it to cortisol. So remember when I brought up insulin? Insulin's that hormone. It's a fat storing hormone. We need it in order to bring glucose down, but we don't want too much of it, okay? Because it's highly inflammatory. Also, it's a fat storing hormone, but we do need it because we need glucose for thyroid hormone that needs glucose. There's different things within our body that if, like, let's say someone goes on a low carb diet or a keto or does intermittent fasting, that can be too stressful on the body for someone if they're having cortisol issues. So that's, again, like, personalized medicine is so important to really look at someone's lifestyle, what's going on, before just throwing people into nutritional programs or giving them a list of supplements or different, throwing a medication at them. Really, our goal and what I do within our company is really help you find out exactly what's going on inside of your body and then create personalized protocols around that. So when it comes to cortisol, what I was talking about, we don't want to put more pressure on cortisol, because what happens over time is that you create this adrenal dysfunction, okay? Adrenal fatigue is the old word that used to be used for it, but it's really a dysfunction with your adrenal glands and your cortisol patterns, okay? So what should happen with cortisol, and just like progesterone, all of our hormones, they have these up and down things that they do. And we need our bodies doing that the proper way. So what happens with cortisol is you should have enough to wake you up in the morning, okay? Wake up without an alarm clock. And I promise you, it's possible. I wake up every morning without an alarm clock. My body has its rhythm, and I wake up feeling refreshed. So now if I've had a crazy week, crazy weekend, a lot going on, there's times where I do sleep in later, okay? So it's always a journey. Always, always a journey. And basically what you want to do is you have cortisol, it comes out, and then within 30 minutes, it's called the cortisol awakening response. Your cortisol levels should go up, and then they slowly go down throughout the rest of the day. Okay. And at nighttime, it's like nice and low, so you can easily go to sleep, not popping up where you are like wired but tired, like on your phone, can't go to sleep. That kind of feeling should not be amped up late in the evening. Okay. Cortisol should be at its lowest level, and you should gently and easily be able to go to sleep. What happens over time is when people have dysfunction in these patterns, because that's a pattern of it going up and then slowly going back down. You shouldn't have an afternoon crash, where you're like, you eat lunch and you're like, okay, I'm tired. I need some coffee. You shouldn't need coffee to get through the day, okay? That's not normal, okay? So what happens over time is that your adrenal glands can be hyperactive, where now instead of it just going up and coming back down, you have it popping up at different times of the day. Or some people may wake up like, whoo, like some people wake up and they're like, already going on that to-do list, mind is racing. That's too much cortisol, okay? So there's dysfunction there. There's an imbalance between the brain and the body and what's going on there, okay? And what that eventually turns into is the same kind of burnout or fatigue that happens with insulin. So when you think about people that are type 2 diabetic, they've had glucose levels that have gone up over time, keep going up, or glucose comes in, insulin got to come out. Back up, down, back up, down, right? And then eventually the pancreas gives out. Insulin isn't doing its job anymore. People end up having to go on medications. And then eventually, a lot of times people have to get injections of insulin. And that creates all kinds of other issues when you think about, losing extremities and just your body healing, all types of issues. We don't want any of that for you, for our family, for our friends, none of that. So the same concept happens with cortisol. So cortisol will come out, and then sometimes when it's coming out too much, more of that anxious feeling, it will start like pretty much giving out. Like, okay, we cannot give her any more cortisol. Like, we have to actually save this. So when I look at lab work, we can actually look at what your body's storing, like keeping to itself for the cortisol, or what it's freely giving you to use, and how quickly your body's using that. And what will happen over time is, instead of it going up and then coming back down, or even like going up way too much, what will happen is it will pretty much start to flatline. And a lot of the women that come to me, they're just exhausted. It's not, cortisol is not coming out like it should during the day, giving them what they need to get going. And it throws off a lot of things. So when we think about it, going back to, if your body's trying to do this cortisol, and even if you're at a point where you just don't have enough, those sex hormones don't have what they need either, okay? That now we have issues with progesterone. Now we have issues with testosterone, all of those types of things. And this is where it gets really important during that perimenopause phase, and also postmenopausal, because a lot of times doctors aren't looking at this, okay? And they're not addressing the stress in your life. In our Hormone Compass program, this is a big area that we cover. We actually have an entire 7-stage curriculum of helping women really work through the stress, because it's easy. It's real easy to say, "Oh, just manage your stress levels," like, or cut that person off, or don't deal with that anymore. But we've really got to deal with the psychological stress and the mindset of what is going on with us internally, because that really affects our hormones. It affects our body. Remember, stress weakens your immune system and it sends your adrenal glands into overdrive, and it creates a host of other issues. So, really, stress has one of the biggest impacts on your hormones. And remember, it's not just psychological stress that can come from like lack of having a connection to God. That's really important for me, that I am able to hear from God. I feel connected. I feel aligned. Because it can be stressful out here in this world and not know, like, having that direction. So having that personal connections, knowing that my steps are ordered, having a community of people around me that remind me that all things are working out for my good, that I'm fully supported. And again, that my steps are ordered. So, creating that community with our Hormone Compass program was super important, and making sure that our clients have that community. Community also produces oxytocin. So, we talked about that earlier in an earlier lesson. But oxytocin is that hormone that's produced when we're experiencing that connection. It takes us out of this fight or flight state, okay? And also the amygdala, which is a part of your brain, that's like your fear center, okay? So it's interpreting danger all the time. And sometimes we're not in dangerous situations, but there may be trauma or triggers or things that have happened in the past that we get triggered by, and it puts us back into the state of being scared, or feeling alone, or feeling like we're not good enough. So really having community around us of like-minded women really helps us to take us out of the amygdala and into a state of feeling safe, and feeling connected, and then producing those good hormones. So that's really important. And then also just having that support, having supportive relationships of family, friends, significant others. A lot of times, you may be at a place in your career where you want to make a career change. And I always let women know, do it responsibly, okay? Don't just quit your job today. Like Dr. Alicia told me, okay, this job is stressing me out. It's messing up my hormones and my immune system and my adrenal glands. So I got to leave. We don't want to create more stress if you're not prepared to leave. Okay. So create your exit strategy, then do what you got to do. Get to a place where you are living in your passions, where you are walking out your purpose. Life is way too short for us to stay in jobs that we absolutely don't love. For me, it was when I had a miscarriage. I was pretty far along, and I was working for a very high profile government agency doing really good work. I was in very high demand. I did enjoy my job. I was very good at it. But for me, when I had that miscarriage, it was that wake up call for me. And it made me say, okay, what do I really want to do? Because life is so short. And I quit. And I'm the type of girl, I give like a 6-week notice. Okay. I'm going to let you know. I'm going to train the person coming in, like make sure that all of my T's are crossed, all of my I's are dotted. It's just my personality type, because I don't want to leave people hanging. So instead, I brought that same attitude into the programs that I create for my clients, and make sure that you're really taken care of and supported. And now I'm doing work that I love, and I had always said, once I got to a certain place, I was going to really move back into functional medicine and supporting women in this way. What I was doing before was still helping women, patients, training doctors, doing all these things. But now I get to do it in a way that really feels good. And I want that same thing for you. So that was a little side note in there. Wasn't planned to say any of that, but we got to breathe, And we've got to really deal with the different stressors. So, whether that's toxins, whether it's deficiencies, whether it's imbalances with other hormones that are throwing off the other hormones, or it's literally the psychological stress, the mindset, all of those types of things that are stressing our bodies out, weakening the immune system, sending the adrenal glands into overdrive. These are the important places to look. Thank you for being here today.